So I wrote a couple things here to remember for the exam. On the left-hand side, I wrote some of the things that you should definitely memorize and try to know. So make sure that you know how to figure out what sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cosecant are, just using the x, y, and r coordinates. So remember that also r is equal to the square root of x squared plus y squared, okay? Make sure that you also know the reciprocals, okay? That cosecant theta is equal to 1 over sine theta, secant theta is 1 over cosine theta, and cotangent theta equals 1 over tangent theta, and vice versa. Also know that tangent theta and cotangent theta equals in terms of sine and cosine. The Pythagorean identities are right below here. Okay, and I also wrote what sine, cosine, and tangent are in terms of a right triangle. So remember, if I have a right triangle here, here's my angle theta. The opposite side is right opposite of theta. The adjacent side is right next to theta, and the hypotenuse is the longest side. Also know the different types of triangles in terms of the angles and in terms of the sides, okay? Remember that complementary angles sum up to 90 degrees and supplementary angles sum to 180 degrees. I wrote here the quadrants. The quadrants, remember, all students take calculus, A, S, T, C. What this means is that here all trig functions are positive. All trig are positive. Okay, that's what this one means, okay? This S means that sine, okay, and its inverse cosecant are positive, okay? That means that everything else is going to be negative. Okay, here tangent and cotangent are positive, okay? And here cosine and secant are positive, okay? I'll write it in red that oops, I don't know why it didn't go in red. I'll write it in red that everything else is going to be negative, which means that cosine and its reciprocal cosecant, I'm sorry, secant, that's wrong. Cosine and its reciprocal secant, along with tangent and its reciprocal cotangent, are going to be negative, okay? Here, same thing. If tangent and cotangent are positive, that means that sine is reciprocal cosecant, cosine and its reciprocal secant are going to be negative. Okay, and in terms of cosine and secant here being positive, remember that here tangent, cotangent, sine, and cosecant will all be negative. So if this helps, this will hopefully help you. Make sure that you really know this. Make sure that you really know this, because that's going to be super trivial when you do some of the problems. This I won't not give to you, but just make sure that you know what the Pythagorean theorem is. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Couple of things more. Make sure that you know how to factor, okay, or use quadratic formula if you really need to, okay? And that's basically if you have a triangle, right? You have some sort of triangle and I give you some sides, and it might turn into a quadratic. So here are some of the things. It's not all of it, but make sure that you really understand this really well, and you should be okay for the exam.